Okay, so I had mentioned about her brothers and why they've not made a good impression on me right from the start. I thought she was different, but obviously the way she is nowadays, she's more like them than what we realized. But I believe that they use drugs too from things that they have said, and so it could be why the whole family seems to be like that. I don't know. Anyway, the one brother, when we met him, the mother had died, and my former friend was going to give him the mother's car, and he came up to do some work on it, and he found out that it needed, I think it was some brake pads, I'm not sure, something to do with the brakes anyway. And so in order to make her feel bad, even though she was giving him the car, and just would he please help her with a few things around the property, I think maybe on her other vehicle, or on her vehicle or something, you know. He gave her the sad tale about he didn't have the money to get the parts for the car, so he was just going to drive it downstate. I think it's like about a 2.5-hour drive one way with no brakes. And so it seems like she went ahead and she paid for the stuff. And another thing, that when we met him that first day, she had a camper trailer. You know, it's the truck with the back thing on and everything. I forget exactly what it's called. But anyway, and it'd been sitting for a while, and so she was having him do some work on that. And he was trying to start it, and he came across there was a mouse nest in it. Well, instead of cleaning out the mouse nest, he went ahead and tried to start it anyway, which started a fire. And Josh went running over there to help. But it's like, this guy is supposed to know so much about fixing vehicles. Why would you not clean the mouse nest out rather than going ahead and starting it with that in there? That's, you know, the nest is going to be combustible. So not real good impressions there. Then down the road a little bit, he had where he was carrying some wood and purposely ran into me with it. Never apologized or anything. So I was not real happy about that. And then, I don't know, I think it might have been 2-3 years ago or something, that all of a sudden she came over, and he wasn't there at that point, but he had been recently. And she tried to tell me that her brother said that he saw my tutu. And I'm like, what? She said, yeah, he said the fan blew your dress up and he saw your tutu. Let me tell you, that was back before I was injured. I stood up, I got in her face, and I let her know he never saw anything. Because for one thing, it had cooled down, and I had my big fan that we used to keep over there for me to use when it was hot. But we had taken it home because it had cooled down and wasn't going to be needing to use it anymore. So there was no way on God's green earth that my dress blew up from the fan and he was able to see anything. So she backed up, and she never did that again. But then more recent, I believe she's using the drugs more and more, and she's just been getting so nasty. But, yeah, that was just some of the stuff with that brother. Then the other brother, she had gotten in trouble for drinking and driving numerous times, but I think this is like the first or second time or something here. And her other brother had come up, I don't know if it was to be supportive or what, but we were in the courthouse, and he said to her, well, just lie. Seriously? You're in a courthouse and you're going to tell somebody their case is going before the judge to just lie. Right in front of everybody. I mean, it'd be bad enough anyway, because you just don't advise people to just lie, especially to the courts and that. But in front of attorneys and everybody else, I mean, come on. So that did not make a very good impression on me there either. And, both of them, they've been leaving stuff at her property because she's got a couple acres or so. And so they use it as their own personal storage facility. And the one that said about just lie, he's had stuff there for, I think Josh said he figures it's probably been about 20 years. So it's been quite a while. He's never paid anything. He's never tried to get it back. There was one thing in the stuff that when we were fixing something to hers and we had to use it, some tool, I don't remember now exactly what it was, but he found out that we were using it for her stuff, not for anything of ours, but for her stuff, and so he had to have that back right then. He needed it. But yeah, this is just the way that her brothers have been, and when you see how she's acting, especially more recently, and it sounds like they've been using drugs for a while, if that's the thing in their family, then it would kind of explain why she didn't used to seem to be like this, and now how bad she really is. But just, I don't know, that's oh, and the brother that tried to start the vehicle with mouse nest in it, he was using a car dolly to move something. I don't remember now what it was. And he busted the tire. Instead of, I mean, this is a grown man, instead of just saying something so that it could be fixed and maybe even offering to buy a tire for it or something, he hid it and pretended like he knew nothing about it. Like, my God. From the time Josh was like, I don't even know, because I know at 7 or 8 he was being honest, because I told him, it's like, if you do something wrong, tell me. And if it's not that bad, the fact that you told me, you might not even get punished at all, you know. It's definitely going to go in your favor that you told me. And so he's always been honest and upfront and never had a problem like that. But not so with her brothers. But then again, you figure with the way their mother was, is it any wonder any of them turned out the way that they have? Because from my understanding, what the former friend has told me over the years numerous times, is that when they were younger, her mother drank a lot, and she actually took off with some guy, I think it was to another state, and left the kids, and she was having to take care of the kids until they got put in foster care. And just not somebody really meant for being a mom and doing a good job. And I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. Which reminds me, all the times that we helped the two of them, there was one time her mom wanted to come up to Walmart because she needed a vacuum. It's like, well, all right, you know, that I'd go ahead and I'd give her a ride. But then the night that we were supposed to go, it was storming really bad, and I was wanting to back out, but she didn't really want to. So I was like, all right. So we went ahead and we brought her out here. We're at Walmart, by the way. And she just, we were in the store, and she kept disappearing and like basically running, so we couldn't find her. Well, she got the vacuum at one point, and then she disappeared again. And so later, finally was sitting out in the vehicle, and she finally came out, and she was like, well, where have you been? Because I got done, I paid for my vacuum, and I came out here, and you weren't out here, and so I left it beside the car, and now it's gone, and it's your fault. You owe me a vacuum, you know? It's like, who would just leave a brand new vacuum by a car when nobody was there to watch it, you know? It just made no sense. Well, come to find out, I talked to one of the workers afterwards and found out she never did buy the vacuum. She just shoved the cart somewhere and left it. But she was upset because I didn't want to take her that night because of how bad the storm was. So what did she do? She actually called and turned me in for being a bad mother and said that it was winter and that Josh had no coat and he had no boots and no gloves or anything, and just really telling a bunch of crap. Well, they came out and they saw Josh had, I don't even know how many coats and boots and scarves and gloves and all of that. And I said to them, well, who called? And they said, well, we can't tell you. I said, well, I bet it was. And I gave her name, and the woman kind of acted a little surprised, and I said what had happened. And she's like, oh, okay. And that was the end of that, because they could see that Josh was well taken care of. But how lousy is that even though it was storming, we went out of our way to still help her, and she did this. And then right now I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, gee, since she did that, why did we ever stay friends with her daughter? But then again, her daughter wasn't like that at the time, so we never thought that she'd be like that. And now we're stuck because her boyfriend needs the help and we need the money. And so if we can just get this channel going and get it monetized, that would be wonderful. That would be such a huge help. And we've got a couple other things that we're trying to get going too, so that we can get in a position where we ain't got to deal with this all the time anymore. So I guess Josh is all done in Walmart, and he's getting the stuff in the back of the van. So I'm going to let you go, and we'll talk with you later. Bye.